FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
But let me ask a question. Just, you know, again, you two as public servants. How do you feel about us moving forward on a real path of accountability that folks in the military or in the intelligence community would essentially have to serve hard time for having committed torture? And because they have to serve hard time, as any prosecutor can tell you, they would start to give up the guy above them and the guy above him. How do you feel about that as public servants, and why have we not done it?
No, well, that is absolutely wrong. If you look back at what was going on in Iraq,
right,
from the April time frame all the way through, at least through the end of my command, we had multiple investigations that were ongoing inside of the conventional forces for soldiers that, or others that had committed some sort of abuse or atrocity. There were multiple investigations, and we actually sent soldiers to court-martial. Let me tell you what had happened was that in 2002, when the memorandums were put out by the administration, it essentially eliminated all constraints on interrogations. It left definition of how you would interrogate, who would approve interrogations, what approaches would be used at the lowest levels. There were many leaders, military and political, that chose to do nothing, knowing that we had tremendous susceptibility to torture.
Could we restore those pre-2002 standards? And what would it take, and what holds us back?
Well, I think we've gone a long ways towards doing that with this administration's declaration that we're going to abide by the Army's manual. That gets us back towards a convention.
Do you really think that a declaration really gets this job done without any teeth, without anyone actually taking a fall?
It definitely does it within the military constraints, but we have to go to a truth commission in order to be able to lay out what happened to us up until that time.
Truth commission.
But why is it that there's one standard for Saddam Hussein, who's tried for his crimes as a head of state, and a different standard for U.S. officials? I mean, the U.S. advocates prosecution of other leaders. Right. Secretary of State Clinton went to Kenya and said there needs to be accountability for crimes of leaders.
Let's be very, very clear here. My reporting showed definitively that the president and the vice president were intimately engaged in both technique and yield of torture, interrogation practices. They got reports almost daily. Bush was asking, why are we not able to get information? What are we trying on this guy? How can we move forward? It was part of the morning briefing. And I'll tell you something interesting about it, is that normally presidents get briefed by analysts. You know, the CIA analyst comes in and says, here's what this region's like, here's what our ideas are. This president, Bush, wanted the operators. I want the guy who's actually doing it. I want the, you know, people would come in there and you ask him, have you ever killed a man? Let's talk about that. You know, there was a kind of bloodlust at the start of this that actually goes to the issue, Jeremy, of real accountability. There's not an issue as to whether the duly elected leaders were engaged here. They were, from minute one.